Everybody good? Okay, we're here. We're live. We're on fire. We're back in the kitchen with Kaitis Cooks today, making one of my favorite things to make. I think I say that every single time I cook, but I do like making this. It's called risotto. And risotto is what we call a short grain rice. It's called arborio rice. And if you want to grab that camera, take a look at that. Short grain. It's really similar to maybe like a sushi rice. It's a shorter grain than the rice you're used to, and it cooks up, plumps up, gets so nice and tasty. So the cool thing about risotto is it's got so much starch in it, and what happens, you add liquid to it and you cook it differently. Usually with rice you do 1 cup of rice, 2 cups of water, you bring it to a boil, you cover it, blah blah blah, and then the rice is done. So this one is completely different. We have to stir it a lot. We got to keep our arm going most of the time. So we start with the rice, and we don't add all the water at once. Or the broth. We're adding broth today. So we add a little bit of broth at a time, little by little. Keep stirring it until we're ready. So it's really a pretty unique and cool way to make something. So let's get started. We're going to first start with our pan here. We're going to put some things in there. So we're going to make we're going to do a garlic and onion risotto. So I'll start with some onion. And basically, when you make risotto, it's almost always the same. You'll start with either onion or shallot. You do some fat. You either do like some butter and oil. We're going to mix butter and oil today. You'd saute that. You'll add the arborio rice to that. You kind of cook it a bit. You don't brown it, but you just kind of cook it, get it all covered in the goodness that's already in that pan, and then you start adding your liquid. And near the end, or in restaurants, what we do is we make a bunch ahead of time. We portion it ahead of time, and when it's time to use it, we add that to a pan. We add some more liquid to it to loosen it up, and then you can add whatever your ingredients are, if it's mushrooms or tomatoes or something like that. Okay, so here we go. We're going to cut up some onion. We're going to just dice up a little bit. I'm going to try and get like maybe a couple tablespoons. Get a nice small dice on these. Nice start of the day. It's always nice to start the day with some onion, right? Everybody agree? Perfect. Okay, good. So I've got my pan over here. And what I want to do, I have some garlic oil. We made this the other day when we were peeling garlic. We preserved some garlic in the oil. It actually cooked the garlic till it became brown and all ready to be used. And here we go. We're going to add a little bit of butter to that. So we're doing about a tablespoon of each. All right. In there you go. You want that butter to melt. And of course it's going to melt because it's in a hot pan, right? If I was butter, I would melt too in a hot pan. So I'll scrape that onion in there. I'm going to turn this up a bit. Now when you do this, you don't want to show this yet. This is a surprise. So what we want to do is always want to use like a wooden spoon to do this. You don't want to use a whisk. You could use a rubber spatula if you didn't have a wooden spoon, or you could go outside and fashion a wooden spoon from a tree in your backyard. So think about your options when you do this. Here we have some garlic that we peeled in our last class. It's all ready to go. So we're gonna do some slices of it today. Instead of doing a chop, we're gonna slice it nice and thin. Make it look like we are professional cutters. That's what I am, a professional cutter. There we go. Our garlic is nice and thin. Our onion cooking, nice and sauteed. So in goes the garlic. Listen, oh, that smells so good. That's a smelly, nice smelling garlic, onion, oil, butter mixture. That's what I'm trying to get that all out. Okay, so now we're ready, almost ready to add the risotto to this. So let's see. There we go. So we're just going to do about a cup of risotto, and it's going to expand quite a bit as it cooks. So let's go ahead and measure 1 cup. There we go. Perfect. And so to that, then, we're going to end up adding 4 cups of liquid, but not right away. So there you see the huge difference between rice and risotto or arborio rice is that rice, you do 1 cup of rice to 2 cups of water. Here we're doing 1 cup of risotto to 4 cups of water, or broth. We're using broth. So here we go. We let it cook a little bit. One thing we really want to make sure is that we don't burn it. We don't brown it up too much. Let's see. That guy's getting ready. All right. Perfect. So usually, normally when we make, oh, look at that. There's a monster in our kitchen. We, what was I going to say? He threw me, oh, usually we add a little bit of white wine to this at the start, but the director of our school won't allow us to bring white wine.
Hey. Is this how impressive your show is, or what? I mean, like.
There's a student over there fast asleep, sitting in his chair fast asleep. Come on, Lee. Come on, wake up. All right, so now we've kind of toasted this a little bit. We haven't colored it, but it's getting a little bit of toastiness to it. So we're ready. If we were going to add white wine to this, we'd add it now. We'd add just a little bit, but we're not going to. So what we're going to do, we're going to, remember, do about 4 cups of broth. And so you see right here, I have broth that's nice and warm. All right, it's all warmed up, ready to go. So we don't need to, so we're not going to be adding cold liquid to it. We're just going to slowly add some hot liquid to it, which makes it cook a little quicker that way. All right? So into it goes. So this is just a vegetable broth. And you could do the chicken broth if you wanted to. It all depends on what your final product is going to be. All right? Let's see. That's my last bit there. I did one ahead of time. I made one ahead of time so I could have some ready at the end of class. Because I didn't want you. It takes probably about 25, 30 minutes to cook this. There's a lot of stirring. It's not fun watching somebody stir unless they're like a Brad Pitt or a Sarah Underwood, where you would enjoy watching them stir, but I'm not of that caliber. So you just want to, last thing you want to do is watch me for 25 minutes stirring. But if I was Brad Pitt, I could just go like this, and you would be, right? That's how human instinct is. Okay. So as you see, we have some water. I mean, we have our broth in there. We have our chicken broth, we have our risotto, and so what we do is we just keep adding slowly as the rice starts to absorb the liquid. Then we add a little more liquid to it. You don't want to add all the liquid in the beginning. You just keep adding slowly. And so what happens is there's a lot of starch inside of this rice. Starts to let it out, and that's what makes you end up with this really creamy product, which you'll see here in a minute with the finished product. Is you don't have to add cream to it. A lot of people add like heavy cream to it, and I'll show you at the very end. We'll add a little bit to see the look, but really it makes its own creaminess when it cooks, and that's the real beautiful thing about making risotto. It's just you get this really wonderful creamy product that is made, actually all of that thickening that happens is from the starches inside of your arborio rice. Okay, so this is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to keep stirring, adding liquid, stirring, adding liquid. That's what we do. But knowing that you don't want to watch that, because I've already covered that with the Brad Pitt, Sarah Underwood demonstration I just gave. So I did this before. I started this earlier before class, obviously, and look at that. Look how nice and creamy that risotto is. And so this is what your final product really looks like. It looks so nice, so perfect, and then you'll just put your spoon in there and taste it for a couple of things. You want to taste for salt, for seasoning, which is just about right. I don't need to add any more. And also, you want to chew on it to make sure that the arborio rice is cooked enough. So if it hasn't cooked enough, just add, at this point, we could add a little more liquid to it. And we would just keep cooking it until, How do I lose things? Oh, there it is, right there. All right. And if you're using broth, the things with broth is we used a broth that comes out of a jar, and so it might have a little more sodium, which is salt, NaCl for you scientists out there. But it might have a little more salt in there, so you got to make sure you you dilute it with some liquid, with some water, if it's too salty for you. All right, so that risotto is ready to go. I'm going to keep adding a little more of our broth, slowly, slowly. And so now what we'll do is we'll go ahead and we're going to do a little topping to go in this, all right? So I've got a tomato here, and so we're going to peel it really quickly. So we take out the end, take out the stem end, and we do a little crisscross, the applesauce at the top. I'm going to put that into boiling water, and then in the meantime, I'm going to do what we call al fresco, where we cut some of the tomato and some onion, a little basil, and we're just going to use that to put on top of our risotto when it's finished. All right, so we cut the onion really pretty thin, chop it up nicely like that. I'll put that in a bowl. I've got some fresh basil here. Let's go ahead and pull some of those leaves off, and we'll be able to put that in our tomato sauce, our salsa fresca. And see the way I do this? I get a large leaf, I put that on the bottom, and then I stack other ones on top, and I just roll it up as if you're rolling a cigar, and then we cut it really thin. We get our chiffonade, which I was talking about earlier today, such a fancy word for slicing really thin. Okay, so this is really great for putting in, and also I'll save a little bit for the garnish at the end. So into my salsa fresca you go. My tomatoes might be about done. Oh, look at that. So usually I'd have some cold water here. The reason we have cold water is we stick these in them and it keeps them from cooking anymore. And that process is called shocking the tomatoes. Shocking the tomatoes, but now they're really hot and they're hard to deal with. And of course I got rid of all my temperature, my water that I had at the right temperature for it, but that's not to worry. Nobody worry, nobody panic. Everything's going to work out here. Okay, that should be about enough time. There we go. See? Those chef hands, they can handle quite a bit. Okay, see how that peels off so nicely? What happens is that skin blisters off of there. It'd be the same thing if we put you in a pot of boiling water. I'd be peeling your skin off right now. But let's not think about that. That's horrible. That's for a show on a different station, right? On the movie, that sounds like a Netflix show. Okay, real quick, I got 2 peeled tomatoes. I think I'm just going to do one of them. We'll cut it in half. We'll cut it like this. We're going to dice it nice and small. See? So I do have a knife that's sharp enough to go through tomato. That's wonderful. Just like that. Perfect. And one more. Second half. Perfect. Okay, we're almost done. About ready to serve up our rice, our risotto. So there we go. We got onion, we got basil in there, we got tomato. We're going to put a little bit of garlic, and we have the garlic we have. We have this garlic that we cooked yesterday, so it's nice and brown. It's cooked all the way through. It's really soft, and we're going to use some of the oil we cooked it in right there. And this garlic, let's see. Dun, dun, dun. There we go. Cut through that. And this garlic is like candy. It's so delicious. It's wonderful. It's a perfect thing to eat. Just like that. Oh, you can't go wrong with garlic like that. Okay? So we're almost done. Stir that up. I'm going to test it for seasoning, salt and pepper, which I don't think I put any in there yet. Does anybody remember? Nobody remembers because no one was listening. Okay. A little pepper. That's too much. And then a little bit of salt. Shake that up. Shake it up, baby. Let's take it. Oh, just what I wanted. If you'd over-seasoned it, no, you could add that extra tomato in there. I didn't, though. Let's get a bowl. Let's get a couple bowls. All right, here we go. So our first one, see, that's what our risotto looks like. Nice and creamy. Nothing added to it. You just have the rice. Oh, get out of here, fool. You have the arborio rice. You have the, we had the garlic and the onion in there. And just the broth, all right? Let's see, let's put this aside for a second. I'll add a little more liquid to that. See, there's a lot going on here. All right, this one, we're just gonna finish it up with a little bit of tomato look. If you wanted a mushroom risotto, you put a little bit of mushroom, saute the mushroom. You can either put them on top, you can mix them in, kind of up to you. We have a little bit of Parmesan at the end. Excuse me, where's that coming from? A little bit, there we go, that's a good finish there. All right, and then, oh my goodness. I ate some of that pepper I was putting in my mouth. Okay, let's say, remember I was telling you some people put cream in them, so here I have a little bit of heavy cream. If you want a creamier look or you want to really work on somebody's heart problems, add a little cream to it. Look at that. So now you have an even creamier one, but you see the risotto, you don't really need to do that. It pretty much does it on its own. Let's see. Oh, you know what we could do? I just thought of that. Here we go. We're going to say, okay, we want a lemony risotto, and this would be great if you were going to add maybe some clams to it or some shrimp. You maybe put a little bit of lemon zest into the risotto, the arborio rice. You mix it in. It's going to give it a nice little finish. All right, we'll just put that on top of the other one. Okay, and that is pretty much how we make risotto. Let me see, I'll finish this one off with some parsley. We'll call this one our lemon parsley risotto. Although, I mean, we don't really have to name things if we don't want to. All right, here we go. A nice finish. And boom, to the table you go. And it's a great thing. You can use, a risotto can be a main dish, it can be a side dish, it can be, it can not be a dish at all. You can just have it there on the table. And everybody loves it. People love risotto. Just remember, keep stirring it, slowly add your liquid to it. And when you're done, you can actually make it ahead of time. Suppose you have a dinner party with a lot of people coming over, make some ahead of time, and you can cool it off and then heat it up with some broth right at the last minute. So that's it for today, but I encourage you to get in the kitchen, to sharpen your knives, to write me emails. I got an email from, I've been getting a lot of emails and texts from my daughters. Lulu yesterday texted me and she said, Dad, there was a mouse in my room last night staring me in the eyes. Can you take care of it? So I put some mouse traps in her room. There you go, Lulu. Took care of you. And just have fun cooking. Cooking is so much fun. And look what you get to do. You get to eat this stuff. And you get to share it with your friends and your family and your foes. It brings people back together.